Michael in California.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Michael?
Doing fine.
You wanted to talk about people helping the homeless.
Yeah, I want to push back on that first gentleman that called. I'm a hard atheist, but I belong to two organizations one's called Veterans for Peace, and the other one is called.
Did you say hard atheist? Settle down over there. This is a family show.
No, so the first place is one of the things we did was we raised money for sleeping bags. Now, we didn't do it because of religious reasons. We did it because it was needed. And we actually, about 100 sleeping bags here in Venice. And our San Diego chapter did about 400 of them. So, there was a lot of people who walked up on and got sleeping bags. The other one is I belong to an organization called Venice Community Housing. And what we do is we house the unhoused. And we're just about ready to open a new building here in Venice. But that's what we do. We put together buildings that for people who are unhoused to move into, so we can, so we're working on preventing unhoused. And the real thing is that, we're not doing it because we're religious. We're doing it because it's needed. And it's important that people understand this. If you start saying that, well, God is doing this for me to do for somebody else, then you're forgetting one thing that, that you need to do things that are real. And what people have to understand is they need to understand that you do it for a reason, and that's to help people out. And if you start saying because I do it because of God, then you're letting something go. You're taking away something from yourself.
Absolutely. It's really important because I don't think that I'm going to be punished if I don't do nice things. I don't think I'm going to be rewarded if I do nice things. And yet I still try to use the little bit of time that I have on this planet to make everybody else's little bit of time just a little bit better. That's to say that I'm doing it for somebody else is like, I don't want to fucking help you, but I have to. This guy told me to. And if somebody tells me, well, you're doing it because God can use atheists, you're taking away my humanity and saying, well, he forced you to be a good person. You had no choice but to be a good person. Yeah, absolutely. Just be a good person because it's the right thing to do. And you shouldn't need any of that to tell you, hey, I'm not the only thinking person in the room. My actions have consequences. Everybody else has an experience that matters. I'm not going to be a dick because I don't want to be a dick. That shouldn't be a controversial religious conversation,
Right.
Michael, as a person who goes out there and actually does outreach and does charitable work, I just want to ask you, and this is for the benefit of certain listeners that we have, what goes through your head when you hear people say that you can't ground your morality or that you can't be good without a God?
It just flies over my head because I know it isn't true. The thing is, because a person who is personal for themselves and understands there's problems out there and they need to be done and being taken care of, then you go ahead and you do it. But if you're doing it for a reason because I believe in a God and God wants me to do this, that's fine if you want to do that. But the reality is, what are you really doing? Are you really honestly helping that person and setting an example, especially example for yourself? Because, there's so many important reasons out there to do the right thing. And when you start doing it, then you start accomplishing it and you work harder at it. My Venice Community Housing is a big part of my life. And I really, it's important to me because I live in Venice, and I don't know if you understood about what happened at the boardwalk, but it was amazing. It was the most amazing story I've ever seen. It was like in 2 years, the place was just packed with tents. And the big project was, what are we going to do for these people? And it took them a long time to make decisions and get something done. But you want to know what? Yep. Probably to this day, there's just a small group of people who still camp on the beach, but it's not where, it's not down there on the boardwalk. Because people got together and they did something about it. And it was needed. And the community was forced, was pushing pretty hard to get it done. And so it got done. It got done in the shortest period of time because it was something that people got together, they organized, and they got it done. And it's important that people, they weren't letting anything else get in their way. It was people working for something that is important.
I love that. I love the answer that you've given here. First of all, I want to point out that we can look at human history and we can see that every time there's been positive change, it has been because of people coming together and making that change happen. It's not like manna from heaven came down to Venice and fed people who were hungry. Okay. It's people organizing to make it happen. And I love what you said about your response to those who would say you can't be good without a God, that you just know that that's not the case. And I think that any thinking person can look and see that that's not the case. I wish that the moral arguments would just die once and for all, because it is so obvious when there are people like you, Michael, out there doing, I almost said doing the Lord's work, doing good work. That the idea that a religious belief, a God belief, a fear of hell, that these things are somehow necessary for people to be good in the here and now, it's just absurd. So thank you, Michael, for calling in and for pushing back on this idea that you can't be good without a God.
And one more thing that I need to mention is when we were doing these things, we didn't do any praying, and we were doing them because they needed to be done, and I think that's important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I had a talk recently where a guy called in to a show I was hosting and was talking about how his house was burned down in a wildfire up in the Pacific Northwest. I think he was in Colorado, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, but there were charitable groups coming out to help, and sort of through the luck of the draw, he ended up with people from a ministry who insisted on proselytizing when what he needed was help with going through his home that had burned down. So it's an interesting thing that often the charity work that's done by the faithful is sort of it's contingent upon people being willing to hear some sort of religious pitch. Yep. So, which is pretty rough. So,
well, why do you think your house burned down? Did you be gay in it?
Oh,
maybe we can teach something. It's awful.
Anyway,
Michael, you're awesome.
I'm going to cut you loose, but thank you for what you do. And if you're so inclined, it would be cool if you could pop into the Fan Run Facebook group that we have and let people know how they can also be doing the kind of work that you're doing. I know I hear all the time from atheists and humanists and skeptics who want to do more volunteer work and aren't quite sure where to look. So have a great rest of your day.
I would say I do it for reasons. And I could sit here and talk about reasons all day long, and we can do that with no problem at all. So
absolutely.
Thank you for getting me a call, and have a good day.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, man.
All right.
What a nice guy.
Exactly. And and that's the thing. There's you don't have to believe anything that isn't true to, you don't have to have beliefs for the sake of utility to go out and be a good person.
Exactly.
So let me just make sure I'm touching all the bases here with our announcements. Okay, we got. Oh, you know what? I can't believe I would be a fool, as my friend Johnny Angel would say, to not bring up that the next episode of, some would say, the flagship show of the ACA, The Nonprofits, is going to be on live at 3 p.m. Central Time today. Go check them out at tiny.cc/YTNP. And if you want to come hang out with Forrest and I in the Discord, our Fan Run Discord server can be found at tiny.cc/ACD Discord. So with all of that in mind, let's move on. I want to say we would love to be able to get another theist caller or 2 or 4 in before the end of the show. You guys get priority when you call. I have seen that there are some people in the live chat suggesting that maybe Forrest could use some sort of education about how biology really works. Don't lurk in the chat.
I'm into it. The last almost 10 years of my life have been seeking education in biology, so I would love to hear if you have something new. Let's do it.
Right. It's your whole thing is getting educated about biology. So
literally my job.